Welcome to another episode of Not for the Weak-Minded. This is the emulation of the technological creation, part 10. And I'm just going to carry on from where I left off and suggest that, as I have said before, that the ancient past is a lie and that the Catholic Church has used this knowledge, which is heavily embedded in the Bible, through the translations of it and the changing of names, to get away with exactly what's going on today, in order for you not to believe that you are special, you have a soul, and you are created. And so this very, very evil, wicked deception on our minds has everything to do with what you might perceive to be Jesus Christ, it's himself or itself. Because what you've got to bear in mind is that the ancient language, what it was, far more advanced than they're telling you. In fact, when you actually, with recent linguistic studies and from various experts now, have confirmed that you both you have to read it two ways. The ancient Egyptian language for one, the Sumerian literature for two. Literally and allegorically, it has two meanings, but and they have to be used at the same time in order to truly understand the texts. So Jesus Christ in the Sumerian literature was Dumuzi, and Dumuzi died for the sins of humanity. Now Enki, his father, is God in the Bible in some cases, and he was one of the creator gods in charge on this earth. And essentially what we see today in places of power is phallus worship. Now all the ancient stories go from around the world that they didn't crucify him, they chopped him up and spread his body parts across the earth. Enki and his followers found all his body parts but one, his phallus. Today, phallus worship is a never hidden symbol in plain sight. So Washington Monument is a phallus worship in a sign of a pentagram, and the actual size of it is 666. Can't remember what the actual measurement is, but you can look this up yourselves. So my point is that they've lied to you about ancient history, and unfortunately they've used these stories from the ancient past, which is heavily embedded with truth, to do with creation and to do with the geological past, you know, the real ancient past, which definitely involves a lot more what we would call aliens. Absolutely. Doesn't mean what we think it to mean. And so it's very, very complicated story, this earth, and we've all kind of played it a part in trying to make sense of it. And so I've spent the last 10 years looking at everything I can muster to literally try and make as much sense as it is possible. So let's get into the Eolithic debate and the current points of debate that surround it, which, again, just to reiterate, that should be taught at an academic level if all current theories are correct. That man's origins goes back to the time of the Tertiaries, and that is the time of the dinosaurs. So that was the problem, and for the last 100 years, the origins of our species, according to all these mainstream theories that have been put together, which we're going to talk about right now, show us that we come, evolutionary speaking and geologically speaking, from the time of the dinosaurs. We know this is a lie, and this whole subject exposes all of it. Why do you think I chose this subject? Because it incorporates all their mainstream theories, who created it, why they created it, and what's going around us today. And how they got caught. So, the current points of debate. The main recurring theme throughout all debates is the theory of evolution. This debate is entangled with all current core theories, and from these arguments, man's origins have been brought to the forefront. Through the arguments of these debates, they have found supposed evidence of a gradual change of life over millions of years, which subsequently we have all evolved from, that came from the sea. That then came, we all came from something that came from the sea, that came from there, and you know the story. You know the story because they brainwashed you it with such like Big Bang Theory. Hot dense state. Nearly 14 billion years ago, expansion started waiting. No, it didn't. None of that shit happened. They tell us that at the end of each epoch saw a mass extinction event, which in turn somehow causes new life forms to appear that didn't exist before, which eventually, after 4 major epoch changes, we ourselves came from an ape ancestor during the Tertiary period. Well, quaternary for them, but my point is it should be the Tertiary. So they continue to have no proof whatsoever of any transitional phases of all humans evolving from any ape ancestor, and this is just a theory which has been used through the very, very selectiveness of every single record. This is why I'm doing this, because they have not incorporated everything. And unfortunately, because of this, the academic society, they are not trustworthy, and a lot of people know it. But in this reality now, we have another side of the elite team, let's call it, the Freemason team, which is basically over the last 30-40 years been trying to show how they've been lying about all these historical records, and now these people are now being part of another deception, which is more and more to do with aliens coming and invading to unite humanity under one banner. So there's more deception to come if you continually believe space is real. Carrying on anyway. No, this is why you must understand that the answers are not being taught truthfully as to our true origins as a species, because as I've already discussed, giants did roam the earth, the flood did happen, the earth is not a globe because science proves it, our observations prove it, everything's local, and all they've done is trick your subconscious with technological devices. So, when our species itself is very biodiverse in regard to our heights, head sizes and body type, it was very easy for them to be deceptive with the paleoanthropological record. And I'm going to go a bit further on this right now and say the BMI. So there is a body type that is short and stocky, and they're born that way. Can they ever get to the BMI? No, they can't, of a skinny person that they want you to be, or that the society has frowned on it to be. It's a joke, like at the end of the day, we have so many, we are very, very biodiverse as a species, and that has not been taken into consideration, really, at all. Different body types, different head sizes, everything. So many arguments over the decades have been about brain capacity and the human development through time. Now this topic itself proves, when you study sort of like zoology and what's going on with, you know, the animals' intelligences, it proves nothing. You know, I got a small head, perceivably I got a small brain. Doesn't mean nothing. We all got our own intelligences, and we all know something, and we all bring all of that together as one. So as mentioned above, through diversity of species, a smaller brain case of a human does not make them any less intelligent or less human. As part of the argument of evolution, it came with it a consensus that man had to have a progression of lithic developments that went from novice to master craftsman, as well as a developing brain case. These debates, through the geological principles of time, brought with it the notion that many different groups of peoples were somehow connected through the development of these lithic industries, that of the transitional phases of the Paleolithic and Neolithic industries of Europe that were created by Sir John Lubbock of Avebury, who was a Freemason royal. There we go. A liar. A psychopathic paedophilic liar. However, so I've gone a bit too far. This then connects to the Eolithic debate, that as a species we have evolved through time and went through a specific lithic development. The debate with whether the Eoliths extended back further in time was due to the logical argument which was created by Sir John Lubbock, as well of the transitional period that still stands today if all theories are correct in their interpretation. That if the theory of evolution, lithic development and geology is all correct, man's origins do actually extend further back towards the Tertiary period, geologically speaking, which subsequently pushes back the transitional period for everything, for our own evolutionary primates, everything they've worked for, everything. However, let it be said that undeniable restrictions have been placed on all records, especially in regarding the skeletons of modern type being discovered already in the Tertiary period during the 20 years or so it was in the academic society minds, meaning that they've lied about geology. And I can show you why in the pictures, because life is geology and it was on a much larger scale, and the Bible proves that yet again. The time of the Titans, the time of the giants, and the time of man. The second debate is whether natural agencies such as frost fractures and other geological processes such as rivers and nature, what they've labelled as nature, can produce all the Eolith types against the set criteria for the signs of man's handiwork, including the ice ages, what caused these ice ages, how many ice ages were there. Oh my word, it goes deep, deep, deep. In fact, the handiwork, according to, which was mainly what took out the Titans, I believe, the ice age, what caused it. In fact, or it could be the last game, fire, ice and fire, you see. There's multiple things that it could be. In fact, the handiwork, according to some experts, at the time, in lithic development, all the arguments, head of museums, was that they were as good as the Paleolithic and even the Neolithic implements, which brings even more questionability to the agents of nature, as well as the simplicity to complexity theory created by Sir John Lubbock and the supposed work of evolved man, unevolved man. Because when you research the natives, you'll find out that they just already knew how to make their stone development. They just knew. It's only when you really look at the landscape from a different perspective that you'll see that something is very wrong with the education system, that more needs to be done to demonstrate how through the epochs of time the flora and fauna went from very, very large titans to very large giants to the time of man, and how that did not take millions of years. This then brings to question a never logical argument, which is that all life is contemporary with the fauna and fauna of today's epoch, that dinosaurs are large animals hashed together from the time of the giants, and that they have used this evidence to deceive us about the true origins of our species and the true history of the earth. And, complete censorship of reality through not incorporating any mainstream theories connected to the paranormal. None. Which is part of reality. When one studies cryptozoology and finds animals that are supposedly 65 million years old with no evolutionary changes, such as the coelacanth or us, you must reconsider the fossil record has been majorly compromised. By Freemasons, by the Catholic Church, by the education system itself, the people at the top, the Jesuits. The third connected debate is that of the out of Africa theory, and this has to do with the Bible yet again, and what's really happening right before our eyes today, and why all nations walk among each other today. So it's connected to where our origins and where we actually come from. And to be honest, it has to do with multi-religionism. It has to do with a lot of things, and there are a lot of answers in this. So this, in recent years, it seems, has been settled argument in the eyes of the academic society, but those who argue in these papers and others I have read about the Middle East suggest that it was Asia or the Middle East or China or America. You see, we were separated as a species and near the end of the game, and essentially put back in place, and essentially over 3,600 years it's come to this, essentially the great cycle. I don't know if that's a time loop, I don't know, but it is what it is. It seems, like history is repeating itself, and we were warned about this, which means that we can actually change this reality. We can manifest a better reality. It's all up to you. It's all up to the people, our minds, whether we want this or not. We want to see the enemy and carry on accepting that Catholicism is Christianity, accept all their panking lies, accept their bondage on us with their birth certificate and being born into a corporation and being an economic slave, and truly not seeing their intentions of what's ahead of us with turning the lights out and creating chaos to bring a new world order. I want to save people from this. I don't even want it to happen, but time's running out, and so I need you to see what the hell's been going on, and this is just a small part of me trying to explain this. And it has heavily involves the Bible, so if you keep thinking the Bible's wrong, you're wrong. You got to understand ancient history and the enemy, and how they've used truth and lies throughout time, how these translations of ancient history are in the Bible, and how that has been used by evil to create this scenario today. So this again is something which relates to the theory of evolution, that if proven true could upset the theory for good. Now by that I mean, the controversies of the Lucy specimen, the fact that it was a surface find found 65 million years old, and people go, oh yeah, but things move around after that time. You got to bear in mind, none of that shit goes on. It's not that old, and things are found where they're found, because that's the way it is. They're just lying. And a lot of the stuff's got dispersed because of the flood. There is literally, I don't know, probably about 6 or 7 meter layer of just sediment around the earth. You got stuff that was on the bottom of a sea, on top of supposed mountains, now called mountains. But how do you think they got up there? What do you think a mountain is in the first place? you know. So you got the bottom of, literally, you got all these large animals that turn to stone, and all of a sudden, whoosh, up comes some stuff from the bottom of the sea thanks to the flood. And there you go. There's the answer. That's how things get on top of things. But they don't want to tell you that, you know, the massive chevrons of Madagascar and all the evidence that prove that, you know, that the flood is true. And I'll prove it to you. Like I said, I've got plenty of videos to show that this stuff's real. You know, it's hidden in plain sight all the time as well. So, Lucy specimen, corrupt. Multi-regionalism in the recent years has challenged the notion that we all came from apes out of Africa, but just like the Eolith struggles to get recognition in the academic thoughts. You know, and then that's all deliberate. Everything's deliberate. The Bible tells us that the loyal sons of Adam's, that's the wrong, just meant to be sons of Adam, will be in time separated from the beast. No, that's right. The loyal, so people like me, and people who understand now what's going on, well, they could potentially be took, you know, and put back into separation for safekeepings, because what's coming ahead, and basically what's going to happen to the non-believers of reality, you know, non-believers of themselves. You don't even believe in yourself. You don't even believe what you are. That's bad, you know, and this is the point, you know. We live in this time, and this is a test of faith to creation. It's a test of faith to who you are. It's a test of faith against evil. It's a test of your steel, your nerve, your courage, everything. It's all a massive test and a challenge that we all have to face together. So, this happened in the past when the biblical flood came, and after the different races were separated from each other to different parts of the earth. We have been lied to about geological locations due to the globe earth theory and a multitude of technological trickery, you know, pilot test silences through contracts, you name it, you know, it's all deception. It is now near impossible for many to even bear that they have even been lied to about everything to do with this reality, you know, and then people can't even accept it. They don't want to know the truth. You just don't. We, as a species, was told the truth, and we have let the demonic forces, and the serpent, because this is two things at once, yet again. So the serpent is the reptilians, and they have let the demonic forces in through the guise of science, and they hive-minded the Greys in the last game, in the end of days, during the last times. So I'm only warning you now that history is repeating itself, and that the Greys themselves, not all of them, as I can show you that one of them still had free will, and he was trying, it or he, she, I don't know, was trying to give us free energy advice. So when I captured its malfunction, suit malfunction, technological malfunction, whatever you want to call it, the reptilians have the same technology, you know. It's all about knowledge, and it's all about how we use it. And unfortunately, the public do not have enough knowledge to even salvage anything out of this scenario, really. And so only those that truly know will go, right? It's sad, you know. We didn't listen to ourselves. We need to know our true origins. Sorry, let me go back to the serpent. So we have let the demonic forces into our society, and the serpent, and they are the ones that rule at the core of our society with the evil plans to kill everything, not just humanity, but they want to hive mind humanity to kill humanity. It's that bad, you know. And they've been using technology to lie to you from day one, since you've been born. The television is not your friend, you know. It's designed and has a purpose. Same as your phone, you know. They're recording me right now talking to you, because that is part of than them trying to emulate the technological creation, because God is listening to you right now, me right now too. It's recording my life. So we need to know our true origins in order to know we have been lied to about Earth's history, and it is impossible for many to move forward without seeing all records. Pangea, the Great Deluge, and the giant tree at the center of the Earth is what you should research with ancient maps and ancient literature, as well as everything else. Hopefully it should eventually make you see this epic game of duality which we are all playing, that is near its end thanks to this deception. The fourth connected debate, which relates to the theory of evolution, is that of the geological stratigraphy of time itself. This subject has been manipulated just as much as all others. The evidence that life is geology but on a massive scale is self-evident once you see these things firsthand and accept them as, and find mud fossils, and there's, I'm not just saying these things, okay? They're real. Mud fossils, Mud Fossil University, or Michael Tellinger's discoveries. I mean, loads of people found these things. It's again, and it proves petrification. The Earth is very young, and they've lied to you about geological principles of time. More and more and more deception. The evidence is out there. You just got to go look at the things I'm saying, and if you don't, well, that's your choice. The evidence of very large trees extending higher than 2 miles estimated from the cut bases paints a completely different view of the ancient past. It's more and more like the movies. And this is where you get, I get it quite a lot. Oh, that sounds a bit like that Black Mirror. And I'm like, I've not watched it. Alright. Probably, because that's how it works. I'm trying to tell you the truth. And they're trying to tell me it sounds like a TV show. You see what I'm saying? The evidence for a machined world is everywhere, and it is often hidden in plain sight through more deception of this historical archaeological record. Veins which have been mined within a mountain are real veins from exceedingly large animals that have been turned to stone. That caves and caverns are the holes which remain from the insides of these very large fauna that saw some catastrophic event which petrified this entire epoch. How, during the petrification process, transitional metals in the blood can create, for example, deposits of gold, all depends on the animals or how the human died. Yes, I said human. Once you see these things with your own eyes and accept that it's fact, the evidence which most could not comprehend, which has been ignored with our eyes, is the evidence for extreme creation. Because it is extreme. These things are very large, and it's puzzling, and people won't believe that. But you have to kind of think again. You literally have to go, okay, that is what we see, but how is that possible? And that is where it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And I've not all the answers yet, but I'm trying to. I've got a few theories, but I'm not saying them because they're absolutely mental. I'm talking absolutely mental, because it involves as above, so below. Time of the Giants. It involves, Bile Dome under the sea and all sorts of things, and also to do with the afterlife. But it's complicated, man. We'll see. So, how many epochs has the Earth been for exactly? They're telling us the truth, I think. Because I think there was a time of the Titans, and then it's the blood, which is your blood is indestructible. Even when dried up, it's still alive. And essentially, if all geology is life, and this is why we see like a lot, rust in the rocks and stuff, because it bled out. Then the stories about being made from dust and mud and stuff, well, that can be easily done if you understand advanced genetics. And so the creator gods absolutely did understand advanced genetics. They lived for a very long time before before we were even here, according to the Sumerian literature. You know, they created this place, and it took quite a while. So, caves and caverns are holes which remain from the insides of these very large fauna that saw some catastrophic event which petrified this entire epoch, you know? Think about it, you know? And then when you research stalagmites and how, you know, quick they can form in certain, you know, in certain situations, you'll see that, again, there's more, they've lied to you about everything. They've lied to you about geological processes of time. They've lied to you about your entire origins. They've lied to, you know, they've lied to you about cosmological principles. They've lied to you about literally everything you can't even possibly imagine, you know. But I'm just trying to get to the basics, because once you get to the core principles, it's done. You're done, you know what I mean? You've knocked off their cornerstones that they've placed, you know, and that's Masonic. So thank you very much for watching another very long episode of Not for the Weak-Minded. Please share, like, subscribe.